Hey, Palumbo here with an RX Muscle news update. This sad news just in. Tom Prince has passed. We reported last night on my Instagram. I had gotten some confirmation from several people that Tom had passed away. We had interviewed Tom a couple times over the last couple of years. And, you know, he had been battling with a lot of health issues. As a lot of people know, obviously he's been on dialysis for quite a number of years from a genetic kidney disorder that he had as well. Tom was probably, you know, one of the bright stars of the 1990s. I remember competing with him several times from 96 through probably 97 when he turned pro and won the NPC Nationals. He was always a really good guy. You know, we got along well as far as we went out to eat a couple times after the shows with him and his wife, Rebecca. And it's just very sad. You know, Tom was an intellectual. He was a really smart guy, and he really burst onto the scene. A lot of people don't know, in 1995. He had been competing in Florida, but he decided he was going to do the NPC Nationals. That was the year, basically, Don Long had the basic lock for the victory in that show. And after the first call out, you know, they'd gone through all the call outs on stage, and no one knew who Tom was. Tom wasn't even in the first call out. And then all of a sudden, I remember one of the judges, John Kemper, from the district chairman from New Jersey, great guy, may he rest in peace. He said, I want to see this guy. I don't even know if anyone knew his name, up with the top groups. They had called out the top guys again, and they threw Tom Prince in there. And people realized this guy was unbelievable. You know, Kemper really was right. And he moved all the way into that second position, and he was battling Don Long for the victory. And that's I think, when the bodybuilding world first was made aware of who Tom Prince was. And at least I was. I was like, oh no, another guy I got to compete against now. I had just won the junior nationals heavyweight class in 95. And so here I am at the end of the year trying to, you know, check out Don Long. Hopefully Don's going to turn pro. It's not another guy I don't have to deal with. And then all of a sudden you see, you know, Tom Prince come out of the woodwork, and it was like, holy mackerel. And he had all the hype behind. The magazines loved him. He was, you know, their new poster boy. And they showed that, you know, they built up that battle between Titus and Prince going into the following year's USA Championships. And those guys battled to that. And I think they were kind of friends, you know, for a little while at least, early on. Until Craig, you couldn't really be friends with Craig too long, because he would always somehow screw you over. But Tom, you know, had a great physique, and he had a great look, and he trained hard. He, you know, and like I said, he was an intellectual in the sense that he had a college degree, and he was very intellectual about the way he, you know, analyzed what he was going to do and scientific approach. So he was a guy you can talk to and sit down, and you know, I'm really happy we kind of reconnected, because when Tom was diagnosed with his kidney issue, and from what Tom told us on the interview that I did with him about a year and a half ago, it was a genetic thing. He had that, you know, autoimmune disease where it kind of attacks your kidney and slowly breaks it down over time. So he even tried to get a kidney transplant that wasn't successful, from what he told me. So he just decided to stay on dialysis. You know, it was just easier for him. He said he'd do his work when he was, you know, when he was on dialysis. But, you know, anytime you're at the height of your career and you're doing something that you really love, and Tom loved bodybuilding, and you get that taken away from you, it's hard, because you have to try to then redefine who you are, almost recreate who you are. And Tom did. Tom really poured himself into his family, his wife. He has 2 kids with a previous wife. And I know he became more of a family man. And, you know, I know him and Rebecca were running they were managing businesses and managing I guess you could say apartment complexes. And, you know, he was making good money from what he told me. And, you know, sometimes, you know, you have to just say, okay, you know what, I can't do this anymore, but I can do this. But I could tell Tom, you know, still had that passion for bodybuilding. And when we got him on the show, I interviewed him 2 parts. And then I got him back on with Milos Sarshev, and we did a couple iron debates with him. And he was having a ball. And he told me afterwards, he goes, I forgot how much I missed bodybuilding. You know, it was really fun to talk about the old times. So off camera, Tom had told me that he was dealing with some cancer issues. Now, I don't know how that ever progressed, because I didn't, you know, I don't like to just pry into people's business. You know, I kind of suggested some supplements that he take and stuff like that. But from what I understand, at least I looked at Bob Ciccarilo's Instagram, and Bob was very good friends with him, and he said that Tom died ultimately of cancer, so which makes sense because he was pretty stable with the kidney issue. I mean, you go on dialysis, he would do it very religiously. He wasn't like neglecting it. He was following the right diet. He had started working out again. I know he told me, but I think the cancer is obviously what got him. So my condolences go out to Rebecca and his kids, obviously, and all his friends. Really sad day. Tom was a good guy. Like I said, I almost wish I would have gotten him on the show even a few more times just to really hear all the stories he had. I'll tell you one story. I think it was after the 96 Nationals. He had Jay Cutler had won the class, and then Willie Stalling won the overall, but Jay got the pro card. Tom came in second, which was kind of a letdown because it was like kind of Tom's he was like the next in line, and then Jay kind of was like the golden boy, stepped in there and snagged that. I came in fourth at that show, and so Tom and I and my girlfriend at the time and his wife, we went out to dinner. I forget where it was, someplace in Dallas. It was like a really I think it was like a heavily gayed area. And Tom and I were like in tank tops and like shorts, all like tanned up. And, I don't think either one of us showered yet. We were all oiled up and, pro tan. And we probably looked like freaks. People were just like looking like we were like the craziest lunatics, like walking. Like we looked like everyone else looked normal. We looked like the crazy lunatics. And he loved it. He was loving it. I was loving it, obviously, all the attention we were getting. And we went and we sat down and we ate and we had a great time. And, had a few drinks and ate a good. I think we ate some Chinese food or something like that. I don't even remember, but it was a good meal. And I remember. And like I said, there's not that many of those times where you get to sit down with competitors. After the show's over. He beat me, but who cares? We had a great time. I was just happy. That was the first time I had placed at a national level show. I guess Tom, even though he was disappointed he came in second, he knew that he was going to be next. Which he was. So it was good times. And once again, you can never forget those good times, but once again, you can't recreate them as well. And that's why sometimes on After Hours and some of the TV shows we do here, I try to bring back these guys from that era to talk about the time so you guys can kind of get a good taste of what it was like back then. And hopefully the couple of interviews I did do with Tom, you guys will go back and watch. I'll put them in the description below and you guys can link up to them and watch them because Tom was a very smart, wise guy. And, I'm going to miss him. Tom Prince, you will be remembered. I think the best you have ever looked was the 2001 Night of Champions where you placed third. I loved how you looked there. I thought you were freaks at that show. And it's always good to have that one show where you actually put it all together and you look your absolute best. And that was Tom's show for sure. Dave Palumbo with an RX Muscle News Update.